actually go ahead. Now, you're probably one of these people who are watching this who were going to the French Grand Prix, the Austrian Grand Prix, if you're, of course, a Max Verstappen fan. And like ourselves, we were supposed to be going to the British Grand Prix. And it's just put everything on hold, like, not just Formula One, but our lives, as a whole. It is a real shame. And if you're one of these people who are currently going through your bucket list of things you want to do, not just in racing or in sport, but in life itself, you want to go and visit a country you've never been to before, or a really well known landmark, or just travel around Europe with your partner or with your family or whoever. There's probably some you've probably got like a big bucket list at the moment, and of course you can't be able to tick it off at the moment. But I'm pretty sure that once everything goes back to normal, you can start slowly just, go check it off one by one. I'm pretty sure there'll be more people than ever trying to fulfill and tick off their bucket list items once the whole pandemic has obviously calmed down. So what we're going to be doing today is me and Lyle are going to be discussing our F1 bucket list. Now, again, there's some, places that we would like to go to, some things we would like to do regarding Formula One, and this is what we're going to be doing today. Maybe places that we've never been to that we would like to go to, and of course, meeting drivers that we, might want to meet one day, and let's maybe do something with them. We'll have to wait and see what we say about that. But firstly of all, we want to know what your guys' F1 bucket list will be. Like, what races do you want to go to? What drivers do you want to meet? Do you want to do anything with those particular drivers? Do you want to meet anyone at a particular Grand Prix? Is there anything you want to do racing-wise? Driving an F1 car, perhaps? I don't know. Let us know everything in the comment section below. So, Lyle, I'm going to ask you first. Let's start with races. I think let's get the main thing out the way with, because whenever we discuss Formula One, when you say, so you're an F1 fan, what races have you been to? That's probably the first question you normally get asked if you're talking to someone who's a casual F1 fan, like a friend or a family member. So out of the races on the calendar, or even a racetrack that's not even on the calendar, depending on what you want, what racetracks would you like to go to, or Grand Prix would you like to go to that you've never been to before?
I think the first one is Canada, Montreal. I've wanted to go there for, I want to say, a long time, and I'm not going to lie and say that it was one of my favourites for a very long time, but of course, firstly, it's in North America. I'm a big fan of the culture over there. Out of the race, obviously, yes, I probably would have wanted to go to the United States Grand Prix, Mexico, Brazil possibly, but looking in North America. With those two races that I've just said, there's not really pedigree, and I wouldn't say there's a reason to go. Just kind of a procession, really. But Canada is old. It's had an amazing track. It's an amazing track. It had some great races. Of course, like 2011, for example, 2018, 2019. See, Lewis Hamilton broke his record there. There's been some big races there in the past. It just looks like an amazing place. The track looks greatly laid out. Got some great facilities. Obviously, Montreal is a place. Canada, somewhere I've never been before. That is definitely on my bucket list. Now, of course, 2018, one of the races that was very high up, probably since I even started to, I wouldn't even say I knew Formula 1 at that point. I just saw Singapore on the telly and I was like, want to go there. It's a night race. It was the first night race, and really it's the only night race. Obviously Abu Dhabi and Abu Dhabi Twilight, Bahrain tried to follow suit, but Singapore is obviously the only one. It even said when I went there, the home of the night race. And I saw that race and I was like, right, want to go there, obviously since 2008. And obviously I wanted to go for a long time, and obviously I was able to for my birthday. So that was an incredible event. That was definitely on my bucket list to tick off. Incredible. Obviously the four races in Europe that I know Jordan's definitely going to say there. So you've got Silverstone, Monaco, Spa, I haven't said them all right. Silverstone, Spa, Monza and Monaco, and I've been to all of them now. Monaco, went there last year. Silverstone, been there many times with Jordan. Obviously 2010, it would have been our 10th anniversary. 10th anniversary, Jordan. This year, nice. this race, which is unfortunate. And of course, I've been to the Belgian Grand Prix and the Italian Grand Prix with Jordan, with work, and obviously Belgium with work as well. So again, they're thankfully ticked off. So the thing that I've never done before, and the one that I'd like to lock in, is definitely Montreal, Jordan. In terms of other races after that, of course, all of them, but that will never happen. So I'm pretty happy to say right now that the one that, and obviously Suzuka as well, but the one that I want to put first, and the one that I will be very, very happy if I achieve and get to in the next few years, is definitely the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal, Jordan. And obviously, as I say that, I know they've just mentioned them. The Fab Four. And no, I'm not talking about the old Liverpool squad with Coutinho in. So the Fab Four, obviously, Silverstone and all that. You know, you always talk about that, of course, to me. So what is the next race, or maybe a European one, maybe like kind of a race outside of Europe, would you want to put on your bucket list next? And of course, as we say that, guys, we would love to go to all of them, but keep it sensible. Don't say you want the world, because you're probably not going to get the world. So yeah, what race would you want to go to next, Jordan? In the next few years, what could you see yourself, you know, getting to, and obviously ticking off your bucket list for the next few years?
Well, I'll probably agree with you and say Canada is a one where I really do want to go to. Like, to be fair, it is a classic track. It's a classic race. I normally do well there on the game, so I've got like a little soft spot for that track as well, randomly. But no, Canada have got some really passionate fans over there, and of course, it's a really nice country that I hear good things about. Of course, if you're Canadian, you're like, they're lying to you, mate. But from what I've heard, it sounds quite good. So yes, I want to go over to Canada for the Grand Prix. Of course, Lyle mentioned, I've always said, since I really became an F1 fan and kind of understood the sport, I've wanted to do the big four: Silverstone, Spa, Monaco, Monza. I've done 2 of them, and I've only got 2 more to go, definitely. Singapore is another one on my list. Yes, it's not the most exciting of tracks. However, it's a race at night. That is cool to see. Like, I've been to my other main sports, football. I've been to loads of football games at night. It's not as special anymore. But going to a race at night, that sounds pretty cool. I would actually, I would go to Bahrain, but I would prefer Singapore over Bahrain personally. But another race, I've kind of, I don't know why, I've just got really a thing where I'm like, I would really like to go there, and I've never really said this before, like until recently, which is Brazil. Like, those fans are die-hard fans.
Yeah.
Only, like, you know, almost like the South American Tifosi, essentially. Even Mexico have got some really passionate fans. Like, when we went there in 2015, I was really surprised with how they were. I mean, I was like, wow, it's like a real festival. Like as if I was watching the Italian Grand Prix, just with hats and stuff, you know, and eating burritos. It was like, wow, this is amazing.
But the Mexican Stig wasn't there though. That was a few years before him. The Mexican Stig, who obviously made that the best race of all time. Do you guys remember the Mexican Stig? Oh my god,
Mexican Stig. I've actually met the Stig personally. I've met
but
the
not the Mexican one.
Not the Mexican one. But I've met the Stig. Yeah. I've met the Stigs. I've met the Mexican Stig's British cousin.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
I'll say all Top Gear joke. I like that.
Yes, I like it. Well, we can actually use that. But no, Brazil it's producing world class racing drivers. You know, over the years like Ayrton Senna and Emerson Fittipaldi, Nelson Piquet. You know, Felipe Massa. You know, recently. You know, really passionate about their individual driver. And yeah, again, it's a classic circuit. Interlagos. It's a short circuit, but it's a classic circuit. It's been on the calendar since 72, 73, around that time. Correct me if I'm wrong. And yeah, that's something I would really like to go to. So I would happily say Canada would be up there, along with Singapore and Brazil. Definitely. I thought you were going to say something there. No. So I kind of, obviously we've covered races. In fact, actually, I'm gonna say this now. The pipe dream for me, like the dream that I know is never going to happen. But you never know in life, you know. You never know what life is going to, you know, throw at you at some kid. Is to go to every single Grand Prix. Now, of course, that's very expensive. It's probably impossible to do.
Yes.
But hey, if I win the lottery one day, you know, if I win like loads of money, I've always said, I'm leaving. I'm traveling around the world following Formula One because I could do it and I will be doing it. So that's like the pipe dream that it's like it's like 1% chance of happening. But it's not impossible that it could happen. I might travel there I might get a job in Formula One. I might, you know, make the coffees like I always say I want to do. Make coffees, travel the world with Formula One. That used to be a mini dream of mine. I think it was Lyle's as well. We used to like, I'd love to be like a coffee boy, you know, just making teas and coffees for the F1 personnel. But obviously when you were like, you know, 14, 15.
Yeah, I think mine was. I think I saw it when I just left school. I think I saw this on like a job advert or something. It was not a bus driver, like a lorry driver, a truck driver for Williams. And I think that's when I said to Jordan, I mean, maybe not the international one, but of course, like the European races. I said to Jordan, I was like, right, okay, obviously, yes, you're just a truck driver, but you're a truck driver for Williams, you know, you'll be in the Williams kit, you'll drive to the garages across Europe, and I'm like, I'll do that. I mean, obviously nothing against Williams truck drivers. I imagine they're great people. It would be an amazing job, and of course it is. They get to see the Formula One race. But I was like, that's gonna be my future job, Williams truck driver.
Yeah, that would be incredible. And of course, you're driving your lorry, and in the back of your lorry, you've got like a Williams F1 car or a McLaren F1 car or whatever. It's like, wow, this is incredible. Like,
Williams won't have McLaren stuff, John. Williams will have Williams stuff.
No, you know what I mean. Although McLaren have been, they've been like dodgy like that in the past with spying on other teams.
I mean, we know that Racing Point have Mercedes stuff in the back of theirs, but less said about that,
exactly.
the better.
Exactly. So yes, we've covered races, and of course, like I said, let us know what you want to do in the comment section below regarding Grand Prix. So let's move on to like non-Grand Prix as well, like other things that you can do in the world of Formula One. Like I think there's one. I think every F1 fan says this, and I'm going to say this first to kind of get the ball rolling, which is to drive an F1 car.
Yeah.
It's the peak of any F1 fan's dream. Now, I thought this would never, ever happen in my life. Up until Matt Gallagher drove an F1 car. Which I'm not saying like, oh, if he can drive it, I can drive it. It's just a case of, hang on a minute, he drove obviously it was Renault livery, but it was the Lotus 2012 car. He drove I don't know how he got into it. I think obviously he just joined WTF1 and I think they did like promo. Not just him, there was like 4 or 5 other people who worked online who got to drive the Lotus E20, I think it was, or E90, I'm not too sure. Up until that point, I went, it is possible. Of course, you need training. You can't just hop into it. Like they went through day by day, like his training, his diet, how to prepare for Formula 1 car, getting in the simulator. But yeah, and I'm like, that would be like to drive any F1 car. I don't care if it's the modern day cars, the old cars, even the cars from the 1990s or even 1950s. Scary, but it's still an F1 car at the end of the day. And yeah, I think that kind of died down when I was like, learning. Oh, could I be an F1 driver? And everyone was like, no. It went down and down and down. But when I say in that video, it just slowly went. It might happen. It's a possibility. It could happen. It's not impossible. 1% chance, but it's not impossible. So I would definitely put it up there. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I won't be the only one who will be like that. Because we all want to know, what is it like to drive an F1 car? I went to Autosport. I was watching the Charles Leclerc interview. And the typical question of asking an F1 driver in a Q&A, what is it like to drive an F1 car?
Never had that before.
I mean, it's like, typical question. It's a boring question because he's going to say, well, it's the best thing ever. Like, yeah, that's not answering my question, is it, Charles? But yeah, I think driving an F1 car, any car that is, would be unbelievable because not many people can say that they have driven a Formula 1 car. Lyle, would you like to elaborate on that? Would you like to? Obviously, I would imagine yours is to drive an F1 car at some point. But is there anything else, like non-go-to race related, that Formula 1 regarding, would you like to do?
I think with driving a Formula 1 car, of course, definitely the goal. Obviously, Matt Gallagher did it. His name is known for sure from WTF1. I mean, will we ever get to that stage? I don't know, but obviously, I mean, it is doable for sure. You have to go through the different ranks, different stages and stuff. I actually have a family friend who not recently, but when we were watching the Brazilian Grand Prix qualifying, I recently learned that he got to, I think he might have driven a F1 car, but he was definitely getting through that stage. He was like showing us like pictures of him in like a Formula 3 car, Formula 2 car, different cars. Oh. You can do things like that at Silverstone, obviously driving smaller cars like the F3000 and things like that. Yeah. In terms of, it's not really Formula 1 related, but I remember obviously when I was on holiday, I went to the Yas Marina circuit. This was a long time ago, 2012. Didn't go for the race, just obviously visited. And I remember seeing that they did races there. And I think the car was called the F450. I don't know what that stands for. I don't know if that's just a name they've given it, but obviously it was like a smaller version of a Formula 1 car, kind of a bigger go-kart kind of thing. And obviously it is what you will train in to get to that position. And again, when we were doing the tour off the track, we saw people go around in them. And then I was like, well, that would be amazing to do. Not just for being in the car, not just for driving, but also just to drive around the Yas Marina, the Abu Dhabi circuit. So in that sense, it's of course not a Formula One car, which Jordan said, and of course it is definitely on my bucket list. But in that sense, it would be amazing to drive a car that's fast, a racer, of course what Formula One drivers probably drove back in the day, around an actual Formula One circuit. So Jordan, I'm going to kind of throw that back to you. So of course mine definitely is Formula One. But what circuit, if you could pick a circuit to do it around, what would you pick? Now of course, Silverstone will definitely be up there, things like that. This is more kind of a non-bucket list thing, because obviously if you've got a chance to drive an F1 car, it would probably be anywhere. But would it be, Silverstone? What track would it be? I think for mine, I'm going to stay on that. I'm just going to stay on that kind of the level of Abu Dhabi, and I'm going to say I think if I got the chance to drive a Formula One car around that circuit, I would definitely take that. I mean, any circuit would be great, but just because I saw something like that, I'd definitely pick Abu Dhabi. But definitely like that. So Jordan, I mean, if you got the chance to drive a Formula One car, where would it be?
Well, beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. Like if you're saying, oh, by the way, you're going to go to the French Grand Prix.
No, I don't want that.
Really, really? Oh, but you're going to drive an F1 car? What?
Budapest?
Really?
Nah, I don't want that.
Nah, like, you're going to go, nah, not a Paul Ricard. If you put it in Austria, I might think about it. But no, you're not going to turn it down, are you? Any track? Wow. Oh God, that is a question and a half. It would either be, if I had to choose, if it was my choice. Oh no, I don't know, because it would be. I want to say Silverstone, but the reason why I'm not going to is because there is a lot of people who have driven a circuit, like driven around Silverstone. Not in an F1 car, but driven around it in their own cars, in a custom, like a racing car or whatever, or even in one of those 2-seater things that you can do, or like one of them track day things, which is cool. But obviously it's not an F1 car. However, I would want to do a track where no one else has, so I would say
Vietnam. When no one's done that before.
Vietnam.
Not even the F1 drivers have done that, Jordan. So say Vietnam right now.
Oh yeah, exactly. I could do the Vietnam Grand Prix because no one else has done it before but me. Yeah, that's cool. I would have to choose. I've got two. Spa. I would choose Spa. The other one was obviously Monza, but Spa is more challenging, and I think that will be a better experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we went on the. If you remember, Lyle, we went to a place in Halifax in England, in Yorkshire. We went on them simulators, if you remember, and we did a couple of races around Spa.
Yeah.
And that was just like incredible. I know it was only a simulator; it wasn't real, but it was still amazing. Driver's eye view, driving. Felt like a racing car. It was just amazing. I really enjoyed that.
And if you remember, John, as well, guess who won that event?
Oh,
it's
God, here
Halifax.
Here we go.
I mean, it was so amazing. And you remember what race number I had as well? Oh, what race slot I took?
8.
8.
Yes,
4.
because I think you were wearing. I don't know why. I know why. I think it was Roman, because you were Roman Grosjean or something.
I was wearing a Haas top, so I was like,
that's it. I'm gonna go. Can I go in number 8? Oh, look at him, man! Bloody fanboy.
Well, I can't
over
choose
there.
I can't choose number 20, can I? So I'll choose number 8.
I think I was like number 2 or 3. I was near the front. I think I was number 2 actually.
You were Stoffel Van Dorn, I think you were. And also, Stoffel was in Formula 1 in 2017, I think. So yeah, exactly. You were Stoffel Van Dorn.
Fan. It just makes sense.
It does.
I was in Stoffel's car essentially. No, I wasn't really. But no, I would choose probably Spa. Spa's a brilliant circuit. It's challenging. It's on my bucket list. If I was to go there for a non-race event, but like drive an F1 car, I would happily say that's a tick. That's me ticked it off that list. Even though it's not going for a Grand Prix, but I've driven an F1 car around a classic track. Yeah. Yes, please. Absolutely. I think Monaco would be a good one, but I would bin it.
I mean,
in the Sandeville.
I know that would obviously not theoretically, but I think saying things like Monaco, Australia, Marina Bay, Singapore, I think things like that
you can,
especially on non-race weekend is a bit that's a bit too far. But anyways, yes, I mean on bucket list for sure. An F1 car. But John, you gave me a little bit of an idea there, just when you were saying about obviously what we saw in Monza, for example, and of course what is ran at tracks, which is the F1 experiences. gives the fans basically the very best chance of feeling the effects of the G-force, being in a Formula 1 car, meeting the drivers and things like that. And of course, you have absolutely loads. You can take a lap of with the driver in a Ferrari or a McLaren or something like that. Of course, you can do the two-seaters as well. I remember me and Jordan felt the incredibly loud V10 noise at Monza of that going round. That one's not as popular, which if you can believe that. It's more about the kind of laps with the drivers. So, Jordan, this is my question to you. What lap? So, right, let's start generic. Okay, we're at the British Grand Prix in 2021, and you can have 2 laps with any driver from the 2020 grid. Obviously, can't guess for the 2021. I want to go around with the 2020 world champion Mick Schumacher. No, you can't do it. It has to be from the 2020 grid. Who would you have your 2 laps with? And of course, why? I mean, it's from the 2020 grid. It would obviously have to be Lewis Hamilton. For the future, just I'd cross that bridge when I get it. Would of course, hopefully, someone from Red Bull probably. If it wasn't Lewis, of course, it would be Max. Second place would be Alex, and then possibly Pierre. But because it's Lewis Hamilton, because of the 6-time world champion and the British, just everything really. You can put a full stop behind Lewis. You don't have to actually say anything else. So Jordan, mine is Lewis Hamilton. 2 laps with him. Who would you choose? And obviously, why?
Well, I was going to say Lewis Hamilton, purely because 6-time world champion, he's a legend in Formula 1, he's British around the home track. Yeah, absolutely choose Lewis Hamilton. But since you've chose Lewis, I want to go and choose somebody else.
Because we can't be the same.
No, we can't. we can't agree.
No, we don't agree.
That's not a debate. I would choose... I know what comments are coming. I know what comments are going to be coming to this. I would choose Sebastian Vettel.
Okay.
Because, again, he's a legend in Formula 1 at the moment. I grew up watching Vettel dominate the sport. And before the comments are going to be, yeah, but he'll spin. You'll get dizzy. Ha 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 ha. Grow up. I'm on again. I could have said Roman Grosjean. I would be dead.
I had a feeling Roman.
I'll be waking up in bloody in hospital somewhere. No, I'm just kidding. That's my latest Roman Grosjean dig. Kirill, if you're watching this, I haven't had a dig at Roman Grosjean for a while, so there you go. But no, I would choose Sebastian Vettel. Like I said, he is a good driver. He's a legend in Formula 1. And drives for Ferrari. If Vettel wasn't available, I'll choose Charles Leclerc. I've really grown onto Charles.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a fan of his since in the lower ranks. Watching him in Formula 1 grow. And watching him on Twitch, I've got that. I'm like, I really like this guy. Same with Alex, same with George, but I've got a soft spot for Charles. But I would say Sebastian Vettel all day long.
Definitely.
So we've discussed Formula 1 circuits. We've discussed like non-race weekends. You know what do you want to do, like non-race tracks, driving Formula 1 cars, and and all that jazz. But now let's turn our attention to the guys who kind of put on the show for us. Not YouTubers, no. The drivers, the Formula 1 drivers. Now, there's probably a couple of you out there who have been lucky enough to meet some drivers. Me personally, I've never met a Formula 1 driver. The closest I've come to was about probably this close to Felipe Massa at the Autosport show in 2016. When he was like, I think Williams was celebrating like 40 years or something like that. So they had like a special display on of their old cars. Massa was a special guest.
I know you mean current Formula drivers, but no, you've met Damon Hill, didn't you? Because I just remember 2016, you met Damon Hill, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I met Damon Hill. Yeah, true.
Yeah, but I know you mean for no current drivers.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Totally. That was like my Facebook profile picture for like a year.
Come on,
yeah,
I mean, did it really even happen?
No, it was all fake, CGI. But I have met Damon Hill. I mean, no disrespect, but he was not on my bucket list at all. But I've met Damon Hill. Yeah, true. But in terms of like drivers in the modern day Formula 1, like I grew up watching Massa. I didn't grow up watching Damon Hill. I watched him on the telly. I came close to Massa. I've seen Charles at Autosport. I've seen the drivers on the podium at Silverstone, Lyle, and obviously Monza as well. So we've seen them, but we've never shook hands with them, took a picture with them. And whenever I'm seeing some people on Twitter, posting pictures with like Vettel or Charles or Max or Lewis or whoever, and I'm like, oh, I wish that I could do that. I'm at Silverstone, Lyle. If you have seen the vlog as well, of course, you people watching, you would have seen that Valtteri was on his bike, Lance was and a couple of drivers
Seb.
in the cars.
You can't forget Seb.
That's not really.
And you can't forget Seb.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not. It's not really meeting them, is it?
Yeah.
So kind of putting the question to you, Lyle. So again, in your F1 kind of bucket list, driver wise, which drivers would you like to first of all meet? I mean, any particular that you might want to have just have like a meet at a Grand Prix, let's say. And which one would you like to? And this is like another question on top of this. Which driver would you like to have like a sit down, have like a nice drink or a coffee or a 5-minute chat with, like just randomly? If you had to choose a driver to have a 5-minute chat, that's it, 5 minutes out of in today's grid, or actually no, in anyone that's currently alive that was a Formula One driver.
Yeah.
Or is at this present time, who would it be and why? So kind of two questions there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, firstly, as we said, obviously John said about Damon Hill. I've met Eddie Jordan, so he's like my only driver that I've ever met. Again, ex-Formula One driver. I remember I met him. He was very smiley in the photo. I was tired, so I wasn't really smiling. But I still met him nevertheless. I've heard Martin Brundle talk. So again, in terms of being close to him, he was on the stage, and I was like about 20 metres away, 10 metres, but I never obviously met him. In terms of drivers that I'd like to meet, off the olden grid, I mean, I think in terms of my first one, I would say, of course, the main one I would love to have met is, of course, Michael Schumacher. Obviously, unfortunately, due to what happened, that's not possible at the moment, but obviously, hopefully, I will in the future. In terms of the older Formula One, of course, I would love to have met Damon Hill, Jordan. I mean, I know that obviously you posed for a photo with him. I remember also a lot of people said that you did look quite waxed. I mean, not just you, but Damon as well. I mean, you both just standing there.
I think they were saying Damon looked like a wax work because he wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking. I think there's about 4 or 5 different cameras, so he was like looking at another camera, so it wasn't looking at.
So Jordan just went to Madame Tussauds and had a photo with a Damon Hill wax model. That's what he did. Don't lie, John. You never went to Birmingham. You went to London. You went to Madame Tussauds.
If that's the case, then I've met Lewis Hamilton. So I've been to Madame Tussauds. And I've met Lewis Hamilton.
Well, if that's the case, I've been to Madame Tussauds and I've also met Prince William and Stanley and. I think the Queen's there, and Darth.
The Queen, I met the Queen,
and Darth Vader as well. You can't forget Darth Vader in Madame Tussauds. It's been a long time since I've been there, so I've forgotten who's there.
I don't know who's there.
But yeah, anyways. But yeah, so right, going back to the topic. So obviously met Eddie Jordan. In terms of the Oldham paddock, Damon Hill for sure. Get him some of them stories. I love him on the telly. Again, Martin Brundle, Johnny Herbert. Johnny Herbert. Again, from a Sky Sports persona, it looks like a lovely guy to obviously talk to. Mick Hakkinen, he's probably the one that's coming to mind at the top of my list. Like, obviously, yes, Alan Prost would be great. The older drivers like Sir Jackie Stewart, it would be great to get their knowledge of. But Mick Hakkinen just seems like the kind of guy who would give you more time in a chat. So, for example, John, you just said there about the 5-minute chat. I'm not picking him. But he probably would be the kind of guy that if you saw him at the door of something and just said, "Oh, Mika, can I tell you about something?" He would say, "Oh, yeah, sure." Just on a side note, I always remember there was a New Zealand rugby player called Robbie Paul who I met in 2011 in Manchester. And again, like I don't think I'd met many sports people before that, but I know that a lot of them are just, kind of like, you take a photo with them 1 second and they're gone. And I remember, obviously, it was me and my dad, and he was like, "Oh, hi, Robbie." Again, I didn't know too much about him, but my dad was like, "Oh, he's very famous, go and have a photo with him." So I went up to him, had a photo with him. I remember my dad got his phone out, he wasn't ready, had to like scroll and then take a photo. I remember the photo wasn't very good. And I was just standing there and I was like, he was next to us, shaking my hand in one of those proper, grip iron rugby handshakes. He's a rugby player when he does that. I also met a footballer who gives a little gentlemanly one, and I was like, "Nah, you're out." But no, Robbie Paul, and we were standing there for about, a good 20 seconds, I would say. And we walked away, and I remember my dad saying, he was like, that's really nice, kind of, he gave you more time. And I know that sounds strange because you would expect that. So if you don't get a photo off, you would expect them to kind of stick around. But to be that high profile, I mean, he was in New Zealand rugby, I think it was rugby league. He was a big player. And to kind of give you that time of day, just for a random person, obviously you'll be meeting millions of people there, or at least 100,000 even. It's pretty good. And I feel like Mika would be kind of that like that kind of person. I love those kind of celebrities
Yeah.
that give you the time of days and things like that.
Yeah.
Off the current grid though, Jordan. So firstly, I want to tell another story as well. When we went to Silverstone, and me and Jordan stood kind of where the drivers came in. On the Friday, there was a yellow Renault. And I ran up to it when I realised who was in it, and I just missed it. And actually, I took a photo of the floor. So if anyone wants to see a photo of the floor, I've deleted it now. It's probably in the cloud somewhere. And in that car was Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg sitting next to each other. I think Danny Rick was driving, because you wouldn't trust Nico Hülkenberg to drive. And yeah, I just have visions of that, because I'm like, yes, we got to see a lot of famous people, like Jordan said, like Lando, Zach Brown, Valtteri Bottas, multiple times Lance Stroll, blah, 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 all that. But, I just felt like if I saw them, because the people, when we ran up to them, the people, we were standing in their spot, the people who were standing there were having a word with those two drivers, like window down, having a word with them. And I'm like, I would have loved that opportunity. That would have made the weekend for me, for sure. Daniel Ricciardo is definitely high up on that. I mean, that, Danny Rick, the smile, like whatever we talk about, I know that smile is never going to get distinguished. And again, he's got a lot of fun stories. The younger drivers, yes, it would be great too, but I wouldn't choose any of them. I mean, Charles, yes, it would be good. Max, but I just feel like they wouldn't have the best stories, and because they're younger, they probably wouldn't give me the time of day. So for example, with Max, it would just be like a quick selfie and then off. Charles Leclerc wouldn't stay around and wouldn't have a fair conversation with us. So it'd probably be after someone older. And again, Jordan, I'm just going to go back to, Lewis Hamilton. Even though I had me lap with him, I'm actually going to choose your driver and say Sebastian Vettel. The reason why, on the telly, I just feel like he has a better presence than Lewis. He's funnier. He seems like he's he's a happier driver. He's a happier guy. I mean, he has amazing stories at Red Bull, of course. Red Bull, my team. And yeah, I just, like, for example, if we were having a chat and he didn't like something, I think Lewis would snap easier than Seb would. I think Seb would kind of keep it more light-hearted. So for my 5-minute conversation, Jordan, I'm going to say, I mean, there's other drivers I would love to meet. As I say, Danny Rick, Mika Hakkinen, Johnny Herbert, Nico Hülkenberg, for example, Nico Rosberg. I think he would be a big one. Actually, he would be a strong second place for my 5-minute chat. So, for example, if Seb couldn't make it, Nico would be in second place. But I'm going to lock it in and say Sebastian Vettel, Jordan, for my 5 minutes chat. We can have a nice, I don't know what he drinks, probably just a standard beer. And then there we go. We'll have a nice little chat about his, obviously, 4 World Championships with Red Bull Racing and his career at Ferrari. So, Jordan, who would be your drivers? As I say, maybe a few from the olden days, a few from present day, and of course, your 5-minute sit down with one driver.
That would be cool. I mean, to be fair, cliche, but any drivers from, like, to kind of, like, have a photo with or anything, go to meet them, like, at a track or whatever, or even have, like, a conversation like those people did at Silverstone, just like, they're stuck in traffic, like, there's loads of cars going, like, over the Hanger Strait, I think. Is it Hanger Strait? Yeah. Or is it the Kemmel
Strait? The funny thing is, also as well, John,
the Kemmel Strait's in Belgium, man.
Just quickly as well, just like, I know what you mean, like, in traffic. I know that Checo was stuck in traffic, and you think, like, he, was getting bombarded with forwards. He didn't stop. But no, with Daniel and Nico, they just wound the window down randomly. And I keep thinking of that moment, because I'm like, if I was like a second, if you didn't slow me down, I would have caught up to that car and I would have had an amazing chat with Danny, Rick, and Nico. But obviously, yeah, Jordan, unfortunately, you're at fault. No, I'm joking. Obviously, it's just one of those things. I've got a photo of the floor to cement that, kind of remember that day.
Oh, that would have been, like, absolutely, that would have been amazing. But can I also say as well, Max Verstappen waved at me. True story. I mean, he did. He did.
He waved at a lot of people.
But I was in the area on my own, because I went further down towards where the gate is, because we were stood at, like, the fence bit, and there was a roundabout, and then there was a gate. I don't know if Lyle went to the toilet or whatever. I don't know. I remember we were separate. I don't know if he went to go and... I think Lyle went to go and get a photo with... or get a picture of one of the drivers.
Oh, yes, I think I did,
I went down to the other side, and Max came in. Like, he was driven by his trainer, I think it was. And I literally just went... like, all right, mate. Like, oh, I know you, all right, mate. And he just went,
Oh, it's John from the
that's what
F1
he did.
debate show.
He just went. So I'm like, see, me and Max, or like that. What was it? Well, like that. What is
Oh
it?
God, I don't know.
We're
I
like
don't.
that.
You're not like that.
No,
though.
we're like that. That's it. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like we're like that. We're busy mates.
Sure.
Best marriage, friends. But no, yeah, I would love, I would love to have like just like meet someone or any of the drivers, Lewis, Lando, Charles, Seb, even Latifi in some sense. He's still an F1 driver. Yeah, anyway, I couldn't really choose. But if I had to pick any driver, obviously who's still around today, to have a chat with, for me, it's a no-brainer, an absolute no-brainer. It'll be Sir Jackie Stewart. The stories he has is incredible. His journey to Formula One, his fight for safety, his racing career, what he did after his racing career, is kind of his story growing up. It's I've watched a couple of videos about Jackie Stewart because obviously if nobody knows by now, I'm a big Jim Clark fan. But I didn't really know much about Jackie Stewart apart from he was three-time world champion from Britain. He's Scottish and he did a lot for safety, and that's all I knew. But he'll have a lot of stories, and of course he'll have a few stories about War Jimmy. So again, I'd be like, so hi Jackie, tell us everything about Jim Clark and tell me now.
And you remember, you've only got 5 minutes. You've only got 5 minutes.
I've only got 5 minutes. Yeah, so Jackie, I don't care about you.
Talk fast.
But no, I think talk really fast. But no, I think Jackie would be, again, what you said there about people having time like to sort something out or just have a chat. He would be like one of those guys who would just have a you stand around and you go, oh, hi Jackie, can I have a chat for a few minutes? But yeah, no problem. And then he would have like a nice conversation with War Jackie. Like he would just be, he looks such like a nice guy. Have like a nice conversation. There's not a bad word said about Sir Jackie, and I just think he would just come out with some incredible stories. I'm pretty sure a lot of the older generation of F1 drivers, I think Alain Prost will be up there for a lot of maybe Ayrton Senna fans or F1 fans who were big fans in the 70s and 80s and even 90s to some degree.
Or just Alain Prost fans. I mean, you can be a fan of Alain Prost as well. Just
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah. Exactly. Which will be, I think a lot of Ayrton Senna fans will want to have a big chat with Alain Prost. Like, okay, so tell me everything you know about Japan '89 and Japan '90. And oh god, that'll be interesting. But of course, yeah, Alain Prost fans as well. So the kind of thing I'm going to wrap up. We're going to wrap up with this kind of bucket list thing, kind of like a bucket list or things we want to do in the world of Formula One. It's like almost the dream, essentially, kind of like the top thing that you said what tracks you want to go to, who you want to meet. But what kind of is like the really like big dream that you want to do in the world of Formula One? Like, I imagine there's a few young kids who are currently in karting who want to be a Formula One driver. That's a big dream. Of course, there's people who go to university who do like aerospace engineering and mechanical and all that, who want to work in Formula One. That's a big dream because only a select few can do that. And of course, people who do like YouTube as a hobby and stuff, like ourselves, who talk about Formula One. There's been a few YouTubers who have had opportunities to work with drivers and have a chat with drivers. I know Arava, the gamer Arava, he works with Alfa Romeo. He's chatted with Robert Kubica, Giovinazzi, Kimi Räikkönen, and he chatted to Charles and Marcus not long before it was announced Charles was going to Ferrari in 2018. So that he's sitting there with Charles and Marcus, and I'm going, like that's amazing. That is incredible. So for me, I would love to interview drivers like work within the media of Formula One, like sit down with a driver and just chat like a podcast, because I love podcasts. I love interviews. I love the thought of interviews and stuff like that. They're getting to know for F1 drivers. I'm in a way I'm nosy. I think that's what kind of spurs me on with that. I'm nosy. So kind of definitely working within that industry of like talking to drivers and interacting with drivers and stuff like that, and like maybe just doing this but with drivers and stuff like this on a professional level would be probably the big dream for me personally in some shape or form, because like I said, Formula One big massively love Formula One. I've loved it for 10 years now, and of course, to be able to work in Formula One, that's like a big dream. That's like not many people can say that they've done that. So definitely that's something on big on my list of things I want to do in Formula One. It might not happen, of course, but like I said, it's a bucket list. You can put whatever you want there, and for me, that's kind of the big thing. It's not on the bucket list, but it's something that it's like surrounding the bucket list. Like, this is bigger than the bucket list. Like, I want to do this for a living. That would be incredible. But of course, hey, we can only dream. So Lyle, kind of wrapping things up, what's your like kind of big dream in Formula One? Is it same as me, or do you have something a bit different?
No, I'd say exactly the same with you, Jordan. Of course, I mean, firstly, all the drivers will have a very hard time understanding your very strong accent. But no, I mean, obviously, I would love to work with Sky Sports, for example. I mean, yeah, I love commentary. David Croft. I mean, David Croft has an amazing job just talking about the Formula One race for 2 hours. It will be hard, of course, but yeah, just interviewing them. I mean, like people like Will Buxton, for example, massive inspiration. Just the kind of things that he gets to do as well would be great. I mean, to be affiliated also with a team would just be great. Like with Red Bull, for example, as John said, that we would do like Red Bull things and interviews and just. I mean, just everything, really, just be in Formula One. I think that's just really everything. I personally wouldn't want to drive if somebody said, as a professional Formula One driver, I'm not going to say that's a dream, but just to be with a team would be a dream, and even just to work in the team would be really, really good. Obviously, hopefully nothing like making the coffees or anything like that. There was other positions, but just anything with a team. And obviously, it's not out of the realm. I mean, we're only I'm 22, John is 23. We have time to go into those kind of professions. Hopefully, it just depends if you want it enough. But of course, I mean, it is a big pipe dream. But something we'll work to is getting into media. I mean, if anything like Sky Sports came around, I would definitely be on to do that. It would be great to interview the drivers and to kind of to shout them the because for example when you watch like Paddock Pass, and Will Buxton before he talks to the drivers he shakes hands and he knows them personally. We all call them the first names because we just do. We don't call him Mr. Vettel, which sounds incredibly weird, but he just knows them, like on a personal level, which is great. And I would love to get to that position, Jordan, and hopefully, I mean, as a channel, we hopefully could possibly get to that position in the future. But yeah, I mean, that would definitely be a dream. And actually, I know that sounds strange, but if anything, these dreams, I would say, are more believable than the other ones. I mean, yes, of course, going to a race, anyone can do that. Meeting a driver, getting a lap by a driver, probably not. But in terms of your ultimate goal, we have time, and obviously, like people we've interviewed in the past, if you've got the mentality to do it, then there's nothing stopping you. Obviously, yes, there is barriers, but there's nothing that is a done deal that says you can't do this. Just pursue what you want to do, and of course that's what we're trying to do, and that's the ultimate goal, to work in Sky Sports or to work in media in Formula One, of course, something that we love. And I think that's, if anything, what you said, Jordan, about being bigger than the bucket list, I disagree. I think that's, if anything, it's probably more believable that it's going to be a long road, but if anything, we possibly could get there, and possibly could get there easier than, say, having a lap with Lewis Hamilton or having a lap with Sebastian Vettel. But yeah, as I say, Jordan, I mean, yeah, my dream is very similar to yours. Media, Formula One, Will Buxton, Sky Sports. I mean, you can't go wrong there, really. And yeah, definitely a good goal hopefully for the future.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with Will Buxton is a big inspiration as well. To, as you've said to me a number of times. When we're sitting, when we were out and about. Obviously, we can't be now. But on Skype and everything, when we're doing this, you've said Will Buxton is a big inspiration to yourself. Yeah. And again, with me, like when I watch Paddock Pass, how calm Will is. He's like, "All right, Seb, how's it going?" Like, I would be freaking out if Seb was like, "Seb, how was
the best ones?"
I would just be like, starstruck. He's like,
just about enjoying the best thing. I think to be honest, the best thing about Will Buxton is when he does the post race. Which of course, like the main thing, the post race, it's when he does things like when he's talking, and also especially like Ted Kravitz's notebook, for example, and they're just talking, and then a driver will leave. And I remember in Italy as well, Will Buxton was near the exit, and all the drivers were just like patting him on the back as they were leaving, and he was like, "Oh look, there's Checo, how you doing? How was the race?" And I'm like, Like, we saw people leave school. You see people leave your work every single day. Well, you used to. And it's like you wouldn't stop them and go, Jordan, you're leaving. How you doing? It's like, good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm standing at the door like, oh, all right, mate, how's it going? Like, all right, mate, how's it going? Yeah, yeah. Like, if I was like, you know, sitting here right now, like, if I'm in, like, imagine I'm in the paddock. If I had a green screen, that would be pretty cool to do now. Me in the paddock, like, you know, if I'm in a paddock, and I'm just like, oh yeah, you know, and the race was good, and like, I don't know, like, Magnussen walks past me, I'll be like, and that's Kevin Magnussen. I'll be like, that was Kevin Magnussen.
You wouldn't even talk to me saying, John, keep rolling. Like Bruce Almighty.
Keep rolling. I'll be like, and the Danish driver, Kevin Magnussen, what? And he'd be like, you alright, mate? You talk to me. No, I would literally be freaking out. But no, I think, you know, like, yeah, I completely agree, Lyle. Like, it is possible. Anything's possible if you put your mind to it, absolutely. It's become like a bit of an inspirational talk now, more than a book.
If you believe in yourself, there's nothing you can't do.
If you believe, you can achieve it. Absolutely. Imagine two Johnny lads let loose in the F1 paddock. Oh, God. Mental. But obviously, anyways, this is where we're going to wrap up the episode. Thank you so much for watching as well. It's been a fun one. Really have enjoyed talking about, you know, our F1 bucket list, things we want to do in the world of Formula One. As I said at the beginning, let us know your bucket list, your, you know, things that you want to do in the world of Formula One, or even things you already have done. Have you done things like, you know, go to one of your dream Grand Prix? Have you met your favourite ever driver, past or present? You know, have you worked in Formula One? You know, like, you know, have you walked, like me and Lyle have walked the lap of Silverstone? That's amazing at the Grand Prix. You know, we've done that. And again, not many people can say that they've done that. Have you done anything like that? Or, like I said, if you want to do anything, then let us know in the comment section below. And we'll be in the comment section reading them all as always. And of course, if you're new around here, then please like and subscribe as well. It always helps us out. Videos this week, obviously F1 24/7 news came out this week on Wednesday. Go and check that out for the latest update in the week's roundup in the world of Formula One. And tomorrow we've got a very special video coming out with the F1 Online Decoded series. Moto Meerkat will be making an appearance for the weekend of the Dutch Grand Prix, and of course, who can forget our favourite, the nation's favourite ever game, Fry the Great, is back. It's been a while, but it's back. Lyle takes the reign for the Dutch Grand Prix, of course. Red Bull, his team. He's got Max Verstappen merch. He likes a bit of Max Verstappen. Let's see how he does and how he represents one of his drivers in that show. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Watch what he's doing. Stay safe, and until next time, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.